नमस्त्रिभुवनोत्पत्ति हेतवे वृषकेतवे क्लेशकर्म विपाकादिरहिताय हिताय च. We have finished 1 out of 108 names. We are now on to number 2. Shivo Maheshwara Shambhu. The name Maheshwara has come. This is also one name that is very particular to Shiva. See, all it means is the great Ishwara, and as such can very well be used for Mahavishnu or Mahaganapati, and it is too. However, as soon as we say Maheshwara, we usually immediately mean Shiva, which is why even in the Kumara Sambhava, Raghuvamsha, Kalidasa says, Hariryathayekav Purushottama Smritaha Maheshwaras Triambaka eva naparaha. So, Purushottama means the greatest among all Purushas. This can refer to anyone. But when we say Purushottama, it immediately means Mahavishnu. In the same way, Maheshwaras Triambaka eva naparaha. The word Maheshwara can refer to anyone who is a great Ishwara. However, this name is used specifically for Triambaka, the three-eyed Paramashiva. So here this is coming from the root Isha Aishwarya. So Ishte or Ishate means to control. So he who controls is an Ishwara. So then what is Maheshwara? Maha, Ishwara, Maheshwara. Here too, one more grammatical point is that when is it Maha and when is it Mahat? This lots of people have a doubt in. Right? Mahat Bhagya, some people will say Maha Bhagya. When is it Mahat? When is it Maha? So these are not two separate words. It is Maha alone. The rule is that when there is Samanathikaranya, Ang Mahata Samanathikaranya Jatiyayoho, Sutra. So when there is Samanathikaranya, that is to say, when both words in the compound are referring to the same entity, then you use Maha. If it is not, then it will remain Mahat. So for example, he whose Shakti is great, Maha Shakti. So Mahati Shakti Yasya. He who has great Shakti, because the word Maha and Shakti are both referring to the same thing here, it will be Maha Shakti. However, if it is something in the case of the blessings of a great soul, Mahatam Ashirvadaha, it will be Mahadashirvada, because the word Mahat and Ashirvada are not referring to the same entity. The word Mahat is referring to someone who is great, Ashirvada is referring to a blessing. So when both words refer to the same thing, it will be Maha. Ang will come, it will become Mahat, will become Maha. So here that Ishwara who is great, therefore it is Maha Ishwara Maheshwara. There, what is the nature of this great command? So Ishwara means he who has a command. What makes his command great? So it is the case that all other individuals have a limited scope of command. Indra commands only Swarga, Bali commands only Patala, some king will command only some fragment of the earth, Agni commands only fire. But there is one entity whose command does not have any such limits. Therefore, he is called Maheshwara. And for this also, there is a statement in Mahabharata, Sendradishu cha deveshu tasya tvaishwarya muchyate. Because his Aishwarya, his lordship is found even amongst Indra and the Devatas. Therefore, he is called Maheshwara. So because he is the lord of even the Devatas, that is Deva, Mahadeva, these are common names that we have. In the same way, there is one more meaning that the word Mahat refers to anything that has life. Right, we say in the Sankhya Tattvas, in the 24 Sankhya Tattvas, you have Buddhi, Mahat, Ahankara. Right, so that Mahat is characteristic of all life. So all life, he is the Ishwara of that. Therefore, Maha, Ishwara, Maheshwara. In the same way, there is one more meaning that is given is Mayam tu Prakritin Vidyan, Mayinam tu Maheshwaram. This is one Veda Vakya that is there. So there is a Maya and a Mayi. So the term that is given to Prakriti, that is to say the root, the source material out of which the physical world is made, that is called Prakriti. That is also called Maya. The person who is in control of that Maya is called Maheshwara. So he is called Maheshwara because the word Mahat here also means Prakriti. So the lord of even Prakriti is Maheshwara. That is one more name that is there. Then the name that is given here as Ishwara is specifically talked about in the Yoga Shastra. So when the Yoga Sutra defines Ishwara, Klesha Karma Vipaka Ashayaihi, Klesha Karma Vipaka Ashayai Aparamrishtaha Purusha Visheshaha Ishwaraha. Who is Ishwara? Ishwara is an entity who differs from all other jivas. How? Klesha karma vipaka ashayaihi aparamrishtaha. He is untouched by 4 things. One is klesha. Kleshas again are 5-fold. Raga, dvesha, asmita, abhinivesha, moha, ajnana. So raga, liking to things that cause pleasure. Dvesha, aversion to things that causes displeasure. Abhinivesha, the innate fear of death that is there in all beings. Then asmita, the feeling of I-ness towards the body. And of course moha, improper avidya, they call it avidya there, improper knowledge. So these 5 are found in jivas. Ishwara is untouched by these. So klesha. Karma, Ishwara is not touched by karma. Vipaka, he is not touched by the fruits of karma also, the results of karma. And ashaya, he does not have samskaras. As we do karma, the samskaras of karma build up in our mind. As we do good things, good samskaras build up. As we do improper things, evil samskaras build up. Ishwara is not touched by any such samskaras. Then klesha karma vipaka ashayahi aparamrishtaha. Because he is not touched by any of these, he is called Ishwara. There is one more thing that is told. Then there is one more meaning that is told, that he who does tirodhana is Maheshwara. So here we have to again stop for 1 second and talk about again theology when viewed through the lens of the Shaiva Agamas. So as we all know, there are 5 Krityas that are done. This we have usually heard. Srishti, Sthiti, Laya, Tirodhana, Anugraha. Srishti is creation, Sthiti is preservation, Laya is dissolution. Tirodhana and Anugraha are described usually in 2 ways. Tirodhana is sometimes described as using Maya to delude. Anugraha is retracting Maya to give Jnana. But here what we mean is, Tirodhana is whatever has been dissolved, keeping it in the seed state such that it can be used again. So something when it's dissolved does not always remain useful to us. However, it is the job of Ishwara that even after the world is dissolved, it should still be in such a state that it can again regerminate. That is Tirodhana. Anugraha is the case of actually letting it regerminate. So then once it regerminates, then giving it a specific name and form again comes back to Srishti. So these are the 5 Krityas. The forms of Ishwara that are in charge of these 5 Krityas are Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, Maheshwara and Sadashiva. These are the 5 that are in charge of these. As we see here, the Trimurtis, Brahma, Vishnu and Sadashiva, in some accounts of theology, also get dissolved during Pralaya. So that is to say the forms, the physical forms also get dissolved during Pralaya. So then who is it that is doing that dissolution? Who is dissolving them? That is the Tirodhana Karta Maheshwara. So basically in Vedanta we have a concept of a Turiya Ishwara. There is an Ishwara who appears as the Trimurtis but has a distinct identity beyond them. We see this in every Purana, wherein in the Vishnu Purana you say Vishnu appears as Brahma, Vishnu and Rudra. What is Vishnu appearing as Vishnu means? We are giving Ishwara a distinct nature. For Srishti Sthiti Laya, he takes upon 3 forms. The same thing we get here also. Shiva appears as Brahma, Vishnu and Rudra. Then who is this Shiva and who is this Rudra? So it is taken that there is an Ishwara whose true nature is beyond even that of the Trimurtis. That same Ishwara appears as the Trimurtis, but his true nature is beyond the Trimurtis. So that Ishwara whose nature is beyond the Trimurtis is called Maheshwara. Because he is Maha, because he is beyond the Trimurtis and he is still Ishwara. And especially in the Shaiva Agamas, they have very nicely put this into 3 categories called Paramashiva, Sadashiva and Maheshwara. All 3 of these refer to the Paramatma, but in different capacities. So when Paramatma remains as the Nirguna entity, he is called Paramashiva. When Paramatma appears as the entity that does the Panchakrityas, he is Sadashiva. When Paramatma is worshipped, that is, Paramatma as Shiva is worshipped in various forms, he is called Maheshwara. Which is why it is called the Maheshwara Vyuha. Just as for Mahavishnu, you have the Chatur Vyuha of Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Aniruddha and Sankarshana. In the same way, for Shiva, it is a Maheshwara Vyuha, wherein there are 25 forms of Shiva that are worshipped. More or less, all 25 of those will be covered by Neelakantha Dikshita across the 108 names, I will tell which Murti is which, such that at the end of the lecture series, if you have written them all down, you should be able to make the 25 name list on your own. So this Maheshwara is said to be of the nature beyond the Trimurtis, who expresses himself in 25 ways. Which is why we all know that Jagadguru Shri Sannidhanam Varu has told in many Anugrah Bhashanas of the Namashtaka, the 8 names of Shiva. Those are being quoted here by Neelakantha Dikshita. Shivo Maheshwarashchaiva Rudro Vishnuh Pitamaha Samsara Vaidya Sarvajnah Paramatmeti Mukhyataha Namashtakaمیدنتಸ್ಯ ಪ್ರತಿಪಾದಕಮೀಶಿತುಃ. So these 8 names, Shiva, Maheshwara, Rudra, Vishnu, Pitamaha, Samsara Vedya, Sarvajna, Paramatma. These 8 names tell us about the Tattva of Ishwara. And here, Adyam tu Panchakantatra Shantyatitadhyanukramat Sanya Sadashivadinam Panchopadhi Parigrahat. The first 5 names of these are not random. Shiva, Shivo, Maheshwaraha, Rudraha, Shiva, Maheshwarashchaiva, Rudraha, Vishnu, Pitamaha. These are not random names. These are the 5 forms that Paramatma takes to do the Panchakrityas. Shiva is the Sadashiva who does Anugraha. Maheshwara is then the Maheshwara who does Tirodhana. Rudra is the person who does Samhara. Vishnu is the form that does Sthiti. Pitamaha is Brahma, the form that does Srishti. So in this way, these 5 names, the first 5 names, are telling us about the 5 Krityas that are done by Paramatma in these 5 forms. Now here also, there is one more thing that we need to recognize, that this concept of Maheshwara as being beyond the Trimurtis is indeed found in the Vedas as well. That is why we all have heard this. Yo Vedado Swaraf Proktaha Vedante cha Pratishtitaha Tasya Prakriti Lenasya Yaf Paras Sa Maheshwaraha. Who is Maheshwara? This is the definition. Yo Vedado Swaraf Proktaha. He who is talked about by the Omkara. So whatever the meaning of the Omkara is, whom does the Omkara refer to? That entity. Vedante cha Pratishtitaha. He is the subject material of all the Upanishads. Tasya Prakriti Lenasya. He is present across every single atom of this creation. He is Sarvavyapaka. That is our definition of Maheshwara. Yaf Paraha Sa Maheshwaraha. So that entity is the Maheshwara who is being talked about here. So that is why this Maheshwara Vyuha, that Paramatma, is appearing in 25 forms that can be worshipped. That is what we mean by the Maheshwara Vyuha. So the sum total of these Vyuhas is called Maheshwara. So each Vyuha has its own name. Ardhanarishwara is one Vyuha. The Hariharamurti is one Vyuha. We will get many such forms. The sum total of all of these is called Maheshwara. So that is one more meaning that we have to see. That is why Atredam Tattvam Asti Trimurti Janika Turiya Brahmano Murtihi. That is how Neelakantha Dikshita has written about it here. So Sachat Tridha Bhinnaha Paramashiva Sadashiva Maheshwara Bhedat. He is worshipped in 3 ways, as Sadashiva, as Paramashiva, Sadashiva and Maheshwara. Tatra Paramashivaha Ekaha, Sadashivaha Panchabhedaha, Maheshwaraha Panchavimshati Bhedaha. And this is what we have talked about, that Paramashiva is that singular Nirguna Paramatma. Sadashiva is that person who becomes Ishwara. So if we want to talk about it as Vedanta, it is Nirguna Brahman, Ishwara, and then Ishwara as a Devata who is worshipped. Those are the 3 levels of Paramashiva, Sadashiva and Maheshwara. In fact, since we have come here, the name Sadashiva is also very beautiful. Because what did we say that Shiva means? Shiva in the highest sense means that which is Nirguna. So then why is he called Sadashiva? It is because in order to act as Maheshwara, to do many things, he takes upon many qualities. Many gunas are taken upon. He appears as Brahma, he appears as Vishnu, he appears as Rudra. He will take upon many bodies, many forms. He will use the 3 gunas. And then we get the question, during the time of samsara, is he Saguna or Nirguna? And for this, our Shastras have used what is called the Sphatika Lohita Bhranti, wherein there is a crystal and you have put various flowers behind it. As long as the flowers are there, the crystal will appear to be in many colors. Now, when is the crystal pure and when does the crystal actually have a color? The crystal only appears to have color, but at all times it is actually devoid of all colors. In the same way, Paramatma's true nature is Shiva. Although he is Nirguna and Shiva, when he appears in the cosmos to do many things, he appears as though having gunas. But yet, he is always Nirguna, though he appears to have gunas, which is why he is Sadashiva. We should never get the doubt that Paramatma is somehow bound by the gunas. Right? The gunas are not a limit. The gunas are not something that Paramatma is missing out on. Right? Some people, we see this, that some people will be saying that if Paramatma is Nirguna, then he will be less than his own creation. He will be inferior to his own creation. Because they are playing a number game. Creation has this many qualities. Bhagavan has 0 qualities. Therefore, Bhagavan is less than the creation. This is not some preschool mathematics to be done. We are also capable of doing mathematics. The point is not how many gunas you have. The point is what is the effect of gunas on the individual. It is seen without fail that wherever there are true gunas ascribed to the individual, that individual is limited by the gunas. The only way you can say that he is not limited by the gunas is to say that he has no gunas. So in fact, Paramatma being Nirguna is what sets him above the Jagat. If he indeed had gunas, he would become inferior to the Jagat. So it is because Paramatma is Nirguna that he is above the Jagat. Even though he may appear to have gunas while he carries out certain activities, he is never touched by them, which is why he is Shiva in his nature. And even throughout samsara, he is Sadashiva, which is why the Panchakrityas are ascribed to Sadashiva. Because although he is always Nirguna, he still carries out Srishti, Sthiti, Laya, Tirodhana and Anugraha. So that is the name of Maheshwara. And as we said, this too is also found in the Vedas. Idancha Shruti Prasiddhan Nama, Mayinantu Maheshwaram. So the word Maheshwara is found there. Tam Ishwaranam Paramam Maheshwaram, Tan Daivatanam Paramancha Daivatam. This is one more Vedavakya that is there, I think, in the Shweta Ashtottara. He is the Ishwara amongst Ishwaras, he is the Devata amongst Devatas. Yaf Paras Samaheshwaraha. All of these are Vedavakyas that use the name Maheshwara. So the first name is Shiva. As we see in the Panchakritya, Sadashiva corresponds to the first name Shiva. Then the second name is Shiva Maheshwara, that corresponds to the Ishwara Murti that does Tirodhana, which is Maheshwara. Then the next name that we get is Shiva Maheshwara Shambhu. The name Shambhu is also quite simple. Sham means Sukha. Shambhu. He who gives Sukha is Shambhu. Sham Bhavayati iti Shambhu. He gives Ananda, therefore he is Shambhu. It is not just that he gives Ananda, but Sham Bhavati iti Shambhu. He is Sukha. Because our Vedas are not saying that Paramatma has Ananda. What do we say? Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, Anando Brahma. Ananda is Brahman. Right? So, Paramatma is Ananda. How do you say? Is Ananda? Is Bhavati. Ananda is Sham. So, Sham Bhuhu means he who is Ananda. It is again a callback to the Nirguna Tattva of Paramatma. But we have been seeing one thing. Neelakantha Dikshita has also been writing that the first name has talked about Paramatma doing Anugraha Sadashiva, therefore Shiva. The next name is Paramatma doing Tirodhana as Maheshwara, therefore the name Maheshwara. Therefore this name should in fact be talking about Paramatma doing Laya as Rudra. This is also seen. Here he says that the first meaning that we have talked about, wherein Paramatma gives Sukha, is referring to the Layakarta. Because what happens during Srishti? All beings are merged back into their cause, which is Paramatma, who is Sukha Swarupa. During Srishti and Sthiti, what happens? We become separate from that and therefore we experience Dukkha. What happens when you are merged back into it? You are swimming in the ocean, you are then wet. You have come out of the ocean and you are now dry. What happens when you go back into the ocean? You become wet again. In the same way, when the Karana Sharira is merged into Ishwara after Laya, everyone is in that unmanifest state. Once you are taken out of that unmanifest state, Srishti happens and Sthiti is going on, then of course the Jivas experience Sukha and Dukkha. What happens when the Jiva merges back into the unmanifest state? He cannot experience anything else other than a general happiness because he is merged into Paramatma, who is Ananda Swarupa. Again, this is not moksha, this is in fact more similar to Sushupti. Where in Sushupti we do experience happiness, but it is through the veil of Ajnana. We are happy, but we are not aware that we are experiencing happiness. Then it is similar to that. Which is why It is told here that only the Layakarta can actually give people sukha without them having to get jnana. So at least some temporary break should be there. It is actually a Vishranti. It is a break from samsara for all entities involved, for the jivas and for the adhikarika jivas who hold positions assigned by Paramatma. For all of them it is a break. Which is why here he has quoted a very nice shloka from the Vayaviya Samhita, that from Shiva Purana, that Rudra being the Layakarta does not mean that Rudra is cruel or fierce. It in fact is a testament to his mercy. So here the example that they have given is Nidanajnasya bhishajaha rugne himsam prayunjataha nakinchidasti nairghrinyam ghrinaivatra prayojika. When a doctor performs an operation, he by necessary has to take a knife that will make incisions into the body of the patient. Is that cruelty? It is not. In fact, it is mercy, that he is cutting out whatever it is that causes pain. In the same way, Rudra as the Layakarta does the same thing. He cuts out the samsara that causes us pain. More about Rudra we will see when the name Rudra comes. So we won't go into that much. But that is the nature of Shambhu here. That is why the name Shambhu here refers to Ishwara as the Layakarta Rudra. Refers to Paramatma as the Layakarta Rudra, who through dissolving all beings during Pralaya gives them a break from the long windings of samsara. And this too is a name that is found in the Veda, Sarveshwara Shambhur Akasha Madhye. This is a very interesting Veda mantra that we'll find, we'll talk about later on as well. Then the fourth name, Pinaki. So this will be Shambhave Namaha, Shivaya Namaha, Maheshwaraya Namaha, Shambhave Namaha. No, we have Pinaki. This will become Pinakine Namaha. So here the word Pinaki refers to, finally we have a story. After so much tattva, if we make it a story, it will be when Uttejaka. So when there is a story here, immediately we will be listening. The Pinaki refers to the bow of Paramatma, Paramashiva. The Dhanus of Shiva is Pinaka. This is not the Dhanus that Rama broke during the Ramayana. So many people have that doubt. We are worshipping Shiva as Pinakadhari. Rama broke that thousands of years ago. Is he still Pinakadhari or not? That Dhanus is different. That was a Dhanus created by the Devatas solely to see what would happen if Shiva and Vishnu fought each other with these two Dhanus, with these two bows. So that was a temporary bow. Pinaka is his original Dhanus. So why is this being talked about? What should be next? Anugraha, Tirodhana, Laya, next is Sthiti. So the nature of Paramatma as doing Sthiti, as protecting the world as Vishnu, in the form of Vishnu, is the Pinaka. So it is why here Atha Kramaprapta Vishnu Murtyatmakatam Suchayitum Tat Kritya Bhuta Jagadraksha Kartritvena Anusandhatte. Because the next form is Sthiti. The next thing that has to be talked about is Sthiti, which is done by Vishnu. What does Vishnu do? Jagadraksha. So the next name is a name that talks about a time wherein Shiva protected the Jagat. So the name of his bow is called Pinaka. How did this bow get its name? This is actually, Naka means Svarga, the upper world. The P is actually a prefix. It is an upasarga called Api. So just as we have Pra, Abhi, Pari, Sam, in the same way, there is one more prefix called Api, which means to close. So you would have heard the word Pidhanam, to close the door, Dwara Pidhanam, Dwaram Pidhatte. In these kinds of things, it means to close. This P is actually not on its own, it is Api. Api is the upasarga. However, there is one sutra called Vashtibhagari, there is one sutra, wherein for Ava and Api, the Akara will sometimes go, sometimes stay. That is why Avadhana, Vadhana, Avatamsa, Vatamsa. In this way, we will see that this will come in many places. Avarodha, Varodha, in this way. In the same way, here Apidhana, Pidhana, both will be there. So Api, Naka, that which has closed up even Naka. So this is a reference to the Tripurasura Samhara story. So what has happened here? During the Tripurasura Samhara, as we know, there were 3 cities, one made of gold, one made of silver, one made of iron or bronze. These 3 cities were flying. They could only be killed by an archer with one arrow who was a Devata Sarvabhauma. The requirement in the Vara of the Tripuras is that only someone who is a Devata Sarvabhauma can kill us. Which is why when Shiva went, he went with Vishnu as the arrow, Brahma as the charioteer, Bhumi as the Ratha, Surya Chandra as the chakras, the ocean, Samudra as his quiver. All of this happened to prove that he himself is the Devata Sarvabhauma. So in that situation, when he lifted his bow to shoot the arrow, the flames coming from the arrow covered the entire sky. So that bow which covered the entire sky with flames is called Apinaka Pinaka. That is how Shiva's bow got its name. That is talked about here. In fact, it is also there that in the story, Shiva has everything ready. In fact, the bana, the arrow is also not normal. The shaft is Vishnu, the tip is Agni. In some places, the tip is Soma. After all of this, the Devatas get garva that, see, he is using all of us to conquer the Tripuras. If not for us, he would not be able to do this. At which point, Shiva, despite setting up such a chariot, such a bow, and such an arrow, just simply opens his third eye and burns the Tripuras. So he doesn't use any of this. Then again the Devatas come and say, please, you have set us up, please use us. For which Shiva playfully releases the arrow as well. So that is told here in the Linga Purana. This Tripurasura Samhara, it comes in the Mahabharata twice. It comes in many other Puranas. Here he has taken the Linga Purana. Somascha Bhagavan Vishnu Kalagnir Vayurevacha Share Vyavasthitas Sarve. So who are all the Devatas used in the arrow? Soma, Vishnu, Agni and Vayu. These four Devatas were in the arrow of Shiva. The second that Shiva burnt, Dagdhamapyatha Devesha Vikshanena Puratrayam Asmadhitartham Devesha Sharam Moktumi Harhasi. You have burnt up the three Puras with your drishti alone, but for our sakes, please use us. Atha Samsrijya Dhanusha Jyam Hasans Tripurardanaha Mumocha Banam Viprendra Vikrishyakarnam Ishwara Tatkshanat Tat Punardagdham Tripuram Tat Chararchasha. So when they prayed like this, Shiva laughing, Hasan Tripurardanaha, smiling, he yet again released the arrow and yet again burnt the three Puras. So that is the story of the Tripura Samhara. The bow that he used in that time was called Pinaka. In some cases, the Meru was used. Meru, the golden mountain, was used. In some stories, the Pinaka was used. So that Pinaka is talked about here. This Pinaka is also talked about in the Mahabharata in one more place. Who made this Pinaka? So when Kanva Maharshi did tapas for many thousands of years, from the anthill, so we see this, right, when rishis do tapas for a long period of time, anthills build up around them. The tapas of the Maharshi sprouted from the top of his head and broke out through the anthill as a bamboo staff. So that staff of bamboo was broken into three pieces. From one was made Shiva's Pinaka Dhanus. From the second piece was made Vishnu's Sharanga Dhanus. From the third was made Arjuna's Gandiva. So this comes when Agni gives Arjuna the Gandiva during the time of the Khandava Dahana. He tells him the history of this. Yugantare, in fact, Shiva and Devi also talk about this in the Mahabharata. Yugantare Mahadevi Kanvo Nama Mahamunihi. So there was the Kanva Maharshi, as he did tapas. Pinakan Nama Mechapam Sharangan Nama Harerdhanuho Tritiyam Avasheshena Gandivam Abhavadhanuho Tacha Somaya Nirdishya Brahma Lokangataf Punaha. That was first given to Soma, from Soma to Varuna, from Varuna to Agni, from Agni to Arjuna. That is how the Gandiva came. The first bow that was made from that bamboo staff, filled with the tapas of Kanva Maharshi for thousands of years, is the Pinaka Dhanus. That is one more thing. And we see that this Dhanus also is talked about in the Vedas a lot. In the Rudra, in the beginning itself, Namaste astu dhanvane bahubhyamu tate namaha. We do namaskara to your Dhanus. And Rudra is also called Rudraya sthira dhanvane. Namaste to Rudra, who has a firm grasp on his bow. And Arhan Bibharsha Sayakani Dhanva, you hold arrows and a bow. In all of these ways, actually the word Pinaka also comes in the end of the Rudra also. So in this way, the Dhanus of Rudra is his weapon of choice, especially in the Veda. in the Vedic literature, we do not find the Trishula much. The main weapon of Rudra in the Vedas is the Dhanus. So that Dhanus is talked about as the weapon through which Paramatma protects this Jagat, which is why he is called Pinaki. This is also found in the Veda. Praneshwara Krityavasa of Pinaki, Ishano Devasana Ayurdadhatu. It comes in the Veda. Krityavasa of Pinaki. That Paramatma who is Pinaki and Krityavasa, he wears skin. So that is Pinakine Namaha. That is the fourth name. Then the next name is Shashakhara. Shashakharaya Namaha will be the name. So Shashakhara means he who has the moon upon his crest. Here is where we are now getting some symbolism. What does it mean that Shiva has the moon upon his crest? So the first thing that is told is in the Shaivagamas, Jnana Chandra Kalachudam, Dashadik Bahu Mandalam. Shiva's 10 arms are the 10 directions. The Chandra upon his crest is none other than Jnana. So Shiva bearing the moon upon his crest means that he is the master of all Jnana. That is one meaning. We have one more meaning, or we have this also in the Varaha Purana, wherein the Devatas say, Shashi Parijnanam idam tavasthitam, Nadeva Pashyanti Kudrishtayo Janaha. People of ill sight will not be able to see your Murti, wherein Shashi Parijnanam, your Jnana appears as Chandra on your crest. That is one meaning. Then there is one more meaning that is there, wherein Chandra represents the Jnana and the use of the Jnana as well. So why does Bhagavan have to be Sarvajna? Only someone who is Sarvajna can create Sarva. Right? You can only create something that you know everything about. So only if you are Sarvajna can you be the Srishtikarta. So therefore here Neelakantha Dikshita has written that after talking about Shiva as the Anugrahakarta, Maheshwara as the Tirodhanakarta, Shambhu as the Layakarta, Pinaki as the Sthitikarta, the last of the 5 forms of Sadashiva has to be the Srishtikarta. Paramatma who creates as Brahma. In order to create, you have to be omniscient. So that omniscience is shown by Chandra who is Jnana Swarupa. So that is why this name has come here. Then there is one more meaning that is shown, wherein Chandra represents all jivas. So in the Ksheerasagara Mathana, it is in the Varaha Purana, Chandra comes out of the Milky Ocean of the Ksheerasagara in 2 forms. There is one form that is the physical moon. There is one form that is the philosophical notion of the moon. Tasmaustu madhite jatah punassomo mahipate yoso kshetrajna sangnyo vai dehesmin purushah paraha. From that tasminstu madhite, from that churned ocean came Soma, who is known as the kshetrajna within the deha. Yoso kshetrajna sangnya dehe, who within the deha is known as the kshetrajna. So Soma is the indicator for all jivas. So if Shiva is holding that Chandra upon his head, it means that he alone is sustaining all life. All jivas are upheld by him. That is one more meaning of saying that Shiva is Chandrashekhara or Vidhushekhara. That is what we mean when we say that Chandra is that. Then here there is one more story that is associated here, wherein Yadva Atra Mrudu Hridayata Swachyate, or Shiva holding, bearing the moon, is a sign of his kind heart. Because there is one story that is told here, when Virabhadra was sent to destroy the Daksha Yajna, in one Purana, Soma, this is actually told in Mahabharata, Chandra was innocent. He did not know what was going on, so he is not at fault in the Daksha Yaga. However, Virabhadra had indiscriminately beaten all the devatas that were there. And Soma was not beaten separately, but the tip of Virabhadra's toe had hit Chandra. Padangushtena taditaha. He was hit by the tip of Virabhadra's toe. Shiva, who had sent Virabhadra, later felt bad that someone who was innocent has been hurt by my Gana. Therefore, let me take him and put him upon my head to show him my solidarity. Or actually here they have written Paschatapa. Out of repentance, that someone who is innocent has been hurt by his Gana, Shiva has taken Chandra and placed him upon his head. Yathoktam Somastatra Mahadevi Kupitena Bhayarditaha Pashyamschanaparadhisan Padangushtena Taditaha. By my Amsha Veerabhadra, Soma had been kicked by not even the foot, the big toe of the foot. One toe had mistakenly hit him. For that, Shiva felt so bad that Tanme Chintayataschaasit Paschatapav Purapriye Tada Prabhriti Somam Hi Shirasa Dharayamyaham. Since then, I have taken Soma and put him upon my head. It is showing us how merciful he is. Even his Gana has committed a mistake, that too not even a big one. To show solidarity with that Bhakta, Parameshwara has taken and placed him upon the head. So, how merciful must he be? These are all the meanings that are written here. In fact, there is one more funny or a humorous shloka here. They have written it as a moral. Neelakantha Dikshita has not quoted this, but the point is that no amount of puja will be able to save someone who is flawed in their heart. To which they say, even Chandra, who sits on top of Shiva's head and has Ganga next to him to take a bath every day, is unable to wash himself of the spot that he has. The moral here being that if there is something innately wrong with your mind, no amount of Bhagavat Puja and no amount of Tirtha Yatra will be able to purify you. So some Kavi has written a shloka like that as well. So all of this is encompassed in the name Shashakhara. And indeed, here we are getting one Murti of the 25 Maheshwara Vyuhas. This is the first Vyuha, Prathamam Somadharicha. The first Murti of the 25 Murtis of the Maheshwara Vyuha is Somadhari, Chandrashekhara. So that is what we get here. Idancha Sakala Puranetihasa Prasiddham Nama. So this name is not directly found in the Vedas, but this is discussed in the Puranas and the Itihasas. Then the next name that we get is Vamaadeva. Vamadevaya Namaha is what we get. This is a very interesting name because it has opposite meanings. It will mean opposite things at the same time. It means that Parameshwara who is very beautiful and that Parameshwara who is very odd. It will mean both of these at the same time. There are some such words in Sanskrita that will mean two things at the same time. For example, the word Arat. The word Arat, it means very close and very far. It is up to the discrimination of the reader to figure out when it means what. So here also, Vamadevaha. The first meaning is Vamaha Sundaraha. The word Vama means that which is beautiful. Which is why stris, ladies are called Vamakshi, Vamangi, those who have beautiful gazes, etc. So that Vamangi or Vamakshi, in the same way, Vamadevaha. That Devata who is the most beautiful, which is why he is also called Sundareshwara. Even next to Meenakshi, he is Sundareshwara. So that beautiful Paramatma is called Vamadeva. Then there is one more meaning that is there wherein Vama means Vakra. Vama means that as well, crooked. This is one more reason why stris are called Vamakshi, because they will not look at anything straightforwardly. Some fitting will always be there. So Vamakshi is used in both meanings. If you are a lady, you can take the first meaning. If you are a gent, you can take the second meaning. We are very diplomatic when we give these meanings. So here the second meaning, Vama means Vakra, that which is crooked. What do we mean crooked? It means Loka Viruddha, that which is contrary to what is usually there in the world. So he whose actions are contrary to what we would usually expect. What do we usually expect? People want to live in a nice house and wear nice clothes. What is he doing? He is roaming around in a cemetery wearing nothing but ash and tiger skin. This is very contrary to what you would expect. So whatever the world does, Shiva goes the opposite way. So that is why he is Vamadeva. Then until now we have only been talking about the word Vama. Now if we bring the word Deva also into play, the word Deva has two meanings. One is one who shines. Divyati is the dhatu. Divyati has two meanings, to shine and to play. So Divyati means to shine, Divyati also means to play. So he who shines is Devaha, he who plays is also Devaha. So now if we combine these, there is one more meaning that we are now getting. Vamena Divyati iti Vamadevaha. He who plays with his left half. Vama is his left, right? He plays, he sports with his left half. Therefore, he is Vamadeva. because Vamangi is his Vamangi is actually a Vamangi. In the sense that Devi is actually in his Vama Bhaga. So because he sports with Devi who resides in his left half. Vama also means left. So he is called Vamadeva. Then there is one more meaning, that Loka Viruddham Kriyadati. So Vamam Loka Viruddham Kriyadati. He plays. Even his plays are contrary to the world, in that in the world, why do we play? We play to be happy. Paramatma is contrary in that he is playing because he is happy. So in that sense also, his beauty or his sport is contrary to that which is usually sought after in the world. That is one thing. Then there is one more meaning, that what does it mean that Paramatma is actually beautiful? When we say Vamadevaha, he is very beautiful and he shines. Here, Bhaskara, Neelakantha Dikshita. Neelakantha, too many Lalita Sahasrama Pravachnas. Neelakantha Dikshita quotes, Atmanastu Kamaya Sarvam Priyam Bhavati. We have heard this in so many places, but the only thing that is truly beautiful is our Atma. So someone who shines as the most beautiful of all entities is he who shines as the Atma, which is Shuddha Chaitanya Swarupa. That is one more meaning that has been for Vamadeva. And then there is one more thing that is told, that Vamaha Loka Vilakshanaha iti Vyakhyane Vishwottirnata Sochyate. When we say that he is Vamadeva, we also mean that therefore he is beyond the world. His play is not limited to the rules of the world. The rules of the world apply to those within the world, not outside the world. So when we say that Vamadeva means he plays even in a way that is contradictory to the world, it means that therefore the rules of the cosmos do not apply to him. We will talk about this when we see the name Kapali. We will see that there. So in this way, why is it then, the one more meaning that we had was Shiva is Vamadeva because his actions are contradictory to what you would usually expect in the world. Why does Shiva act like this? This is a question that we usually have. See, when Paramatma is meant to be Jagadguru and teach us Sadachara, why is it that he does things that are not supposed to be done? See, there is a reason why there are no tamasic forms of Vishnu worship, but there are many forms of tamasic Shiva worship. Why is this the case? It is simply because Vishnu does not have anything in his form that would cause anyone to go astray. However, any single thing in Shiva's form is enough. Blood gone, Kapala gone, Chita Bhasma gone. And any one aspect of Shiva's usual aharya is enough that if we take it literally, we will be going down the wrong path. So why does Shiva do this? Here he quotes again the shlokas of our previous acharyas, that Vipat pratikara parena mangalam nishevyate bhuti samutsukena va jagat charanyasya nirashishas sataha kimebhir ashopa hatatma vrittibhihi. So why do we follow Sadachara, or why do we do Mangala things? There are two reasons. Vipat pratikara parena mangalam nishevyate. If we are in some trouble, to get rid of that trouble, we will do certain auspicious rites. Also, bhuti michubhi, bhuti samutsukena va. If we wish to get some wealth or some riches, we will also follow things that are Mangala. For someone who is Jagat Charanya and Nirashisha, he in fact does not have any apat of his own. He is in fact Jagat Charanya. He removes the troubles of everyone else. Nirashisha, he doesn't need anything. So he has no need to follow the rules that are prescribed for Mangalya. Immediately, therefore, we understand that Paramatma does not need auspiciousness simply because he is beyond the need for it. You only need to follow these auspicious rules when you need auspicious things or you want to get rid of something that is inauspicious. Paramatma has neither of these. Therefore, he is under no compulsion to follow this. Which is why he appears both as this Rudra who has all his Amangala Chinhas, and he also does appear as Sadashiva who has all Mangala Chinhas. Right? Those of you who know the Shakti Panchakshri mantra, what is the Dhyana Shloka there? You will not find any of this in that. Mule kalpadrumasya, druta kanakanibham, charu padmasanastham, vamanka rudha gauri nibada kuchabhara bhoga gadhopa ghodam, nanalankara kantam. He is wearing ornaments there. There is nothing amangala about that form of Shiva. There are only some forms, especially when he is doing samhara, that there will be amangala abharanas that are worn. So he will be sometimes a mangala form, sometimes a mangala form. Who is it that will decide when he will be what? He does not need either, so he can be both. That is why Shiva shows us both forms. Because he is not, we are under the compulsion that we need Mangala. We cannot say the way Shiva can that I don't need anything auspicious in my life. We do very much need to follow Sadachara such that we only get auspiciousness. However, Shiva is not in our status. Therefore, the rules that apply to us do not apply to him. So that is one thing that they have told here. And this name is, of course, there in the Vedas. Vamaadeva yanamo, Jyeshtha yanamo, Shrestha yanamo. That is there, right? So, there the name Vamaadeva has come in the Vedas. And there is also one more aspect therein, in the 5 faces of Shiva. Tatpurusha, Aghora, Vamadeva, in these 5 faces, Aghora is one of the Vamadeva is one of the important faces there. Kunkumakshoda Sankasham Vamakhyam Vara Vesha Bhrita Vaktra Muttara Mishasya Pratimayam Pratishtitam. In the Shiva Purana Vachanat. So this is the nature of the 5th face of Shiva, in that it is red in color and it is the northern face. Vaktra Muttara Mishasya. The northern facing face. So Shiva has 5 faces, 4 in 4 directions and 1 facing up. So this Vamadeva is the north facing face. This is the Vamadeva Nama. Vamadevaya Namaha. Then Vamadevo Virupaksha. So here we will not discuss this name too much, but basically Viruddhani Akshani Yasya Saha. He who has Virupani, he who has eyes that are abnormal, misshapen also we can say. So everyone usually has 2 eyes. Sometimes we will have 1 or 0 depending on our status. But there is nothing greater than 2. The only person who has more than 2 is Shiva. That is why he is Viruddha Aksha. He who has eyes that are not normal is Virupaksha. Then in a more philosophical sense, there is one more that is given, which is Viruddhani Akshani Yasya, means he whose indriyas are not like the indriyas of the jivas. Because why do jivas have indriyas? Jivas have indriyas because we are limited by our body. Anything that is outside our body cannot be directly perceived by us. If we wish to directly perceive it, we need some indriya that will give a connection with it. So that connection, for that connection the indriya is needed. I am sitting here, the mic is somewhere over here. So that I can connect with the mic, or so that there is some relationship with the mic such that I can perceive it, the eye is needed. Paramatma does not have any such indriyas. That is apani padam javanogrihita pashyatya chakshuho sashrunotya karnaha. Without hands or feet, he takes and he walks. He hears without ears and he sees without eyes. This is there in the Upanishad. So this is because Paramatma, being omnipresent and Jnanasvarupa, does not need indriyas to know things. So for that reason also he is called Virupaksha. He whose indriyas are not the way they usually are in the Jagat. That is one more meaning. And this is also there in the Veda. Ritagam Satyam Param Brahma Purusham Krishna Pingalam Urdhvaretam Virupaksham Vishwarupaya Vai Namo Namaha is there. So Ritam Satyam Param Brahma. For those people who think that Shiva is not talked about as the Paramatma in Vedas, it is blatant here. Ritam Satyam Param Brahma. The word Parabrahma has been used. And then Purusham Krishna Pingalam. This Krishna Pingala is more or less the name Neelalohita. Krishna is Neela, Pingala is Lohita. We will talk about this later. But then Urdhvaretam, he is in dhyana, so his retas has gone up. Virupaksham, he is 3-eyed. And he himself has appeared as the Vishwarupaya. And therefore it is him alone that is talked about as Vishwam Vishnar Vashatkaraha. So these are all the same entity that is being talked about. So there we get this name in the Vedas as well. Next, Kapardhi. Kapardine Namaha will be the name. This name is only applicable to Shiva. There are some people who see the name Kaparda in the Veda and try to say that it is not about Shiva, it is actually about Rama, because Rama had Jata Jotas during Vanavasa. The word Kaparda refers to Shiva's Jata Jota. Even in the Amara, Kapardasya Jata Jotaha Pinako Jagavam Dhanuhu, in the Amarakosha it comes. The Kaparda is only used for Shiva. It is not used for anyone else. Nobody else's Jata Jotas can be called Kaparda. So there are some Vaishnavas who will try to say that Namah Kapardinecha Vyuptakeshaya cha. in the Rudra, they say that this is either about Narasimha or about Rama. And they'll say it is about Rama because in Vanavasa he also had Jata Jota. The word Kapardi cannot fit Rama simply because we will now see what the word Kaparda means. And the word Kaparda therefore cannot refer to the Jata Jota of anyone other than Paramashiva. Because here, the word Kam means Jala, water. That is why one word for Megha, word for a cloud is Kandharaha, that which bears water, Jaladhara, Kandhara. So Kam means water. Kam, Kasya Paha means Jala Pravaha. So the fact that the flow of water is told as Ka Par. So Ka means water, Par means a flow. So Ka Param Dadati, that which gives out a flow of water is Ka Par Da. This is a direct call to Shiva's bearing the Ganga. So because Shiva has the Ganga in his Jata Jotas, his Jata Jotas are called Kaparda. So therefore the word Kaparda cannot be applied to anyone other than, to anything other than the Jata Jotas of Shiva. It does not fit. So one more thing that is there here is Daip Shodhane. That dhatu is also there. Kaparam Shodhayati. It is not just he who gives out the flow of water from his head, but it is also he who purifies the water upon his head. It is not that Ganga purifies Shiva. Shiva has purified Ganga. And we see this, that this is there in the Ramayana also. And here Neelakantha Dikshita quotes that Yaduktam Ramayane Papata Janhavi Punya Punye Rudrasya Murdhani. Punya Janhavi, the pure Ganga, fell upon the pure head of Shiva. Janhavi Punya Punye Rudra Murdhani Papata. And in fact, there is more later on that Bhavanga Patitam Toyam Pavitram iti Pasprushuhu. The rishis reverently touched the water of Ganga because it had touched the body of Shiva. So Ganga, why is Ganga pure? Because it has been touched by the Divya Mangala Vigraha of Shiva. That is told in the Ramayana. Bhavanga Patitam Toyam Pavitram. Because any water that has touched the divine figure of Shiva, it is pure. Therefore, it is worthy. So, if you are a Shiva Bhakta, you take it like this. If you are a Vishnu Bhakta, you take it that Vishnu's Padutaka. The Pada Tirtha of Vishnu is Ganga. If you are a Vishnu Bhakta, you take it like that. If you are a Shiva Bhakta, you take it like this. In this way, the Kaparda can only be that of Shiva. It can only be the Jata Jota of Shiva. And in this way, one more thing is being talked about here, that Ganga is pure because of Shiva. Neelakantha, this is what we have just said, right? Because Ganga has touched Shiva's body, it is pure. Neelakantha Dikshita has used this concept to give us an even bigger concept, that no Tirtha Yatra will ever truly give us purification unless you have Shiva in your heart while doing it. He has told us this also. Evam vidhe kaliyuge doshanam eka shodhanam Mahadeva namaskaraha dhyanam dhanam iti shrutihi. So this is there in the Kurma Purana, that Ganga has obtained a particular capability to wash off sins because it has been touched by Shiva. Now please, we are staying in the mode of Shiva Purana. If we ever talk about Vishnu Purana, the way we describe this will completely change. Right now we are talking about Paramatma is Shiva. So now Ganga is pure because it has touched Shiva. So therefore what does it mean? There is nothing that is, if we who touch Ganga become pure, and Ganga became like that from Shiva, then what more if we think of Shiva directly? So when we do Tirtha Yatras, any other Punya Nadi or Samudra is merely an intermediary. The root of all purity is thinking of Parameshwara. That is the concept that is told here, that so many people ask that in all our shlokas, it is only Vishnu that is talked about. After we finish puja, Achyutanama Anantanama Govindanama Achyutanama Govindanama Achyutananda Govindebhyo Namaha, we are only telling Vishnu namas. There are also Shiva namas, Bhava, Sharva, these three namas are told for Shiva puja. In the same way for Shiva also, this shloka we have, Apavitrah Pavitrova Sarvavastham Gatopiva Yasmaret Pundarikaksham Sabahyaabhyantara Shuchihi. What do we tell if we are Shiva Bhaktas? That shloka is also there in the Shastras. So Shastras have very nicely given us sets for Devi Bhaktas, Vishnu Bhaktas and Shiva Bhaktas. So there Neelakantha Dikshita has quoted that. Apavitra pavitrova sarvavastham gatopiva yasmare devam ishanam sabahyabhyantara shuchihi. This is there in the Shiva Dharma Purana, in the Shiva Purana. So in this way, the purificatory nature of Shiva, the fact that thinking of Shiva, remembering Shiva, keeping Shiva in your heart is even more purificatory than Ganga. Because Ganga became very purificatory through the touch of Shiva. What more if Shiva is kept in the heart? So this name Kapardi, A, is taken to show us that Shiva gives out Ganga from his Jata Jotas. The second implication is also that Shiva is more pure than anything else in this Prapancha. Then we come to the name Neelalohitaha. Neelalohitaya Namaha is the next name. He who is Neela and Lohita. He is blue and red in color. What does this mean? This is actually a very, very important name and a very novel name. I've always felt it is a very nice name for a child. People try to look for new names, right? They say Mukesh, Suresh, something, Rakesh, some names are being put. And the main requirement seems to be that it should not be there in Manava Srishti until now. The second being that it should end in Ish. These two things, it is a perfect name to be kept. I have always thought that this Neelalohita is actually a very nice name. It is a new name, easily pronounceable. It is very easy to pronounce. I have always felt that since I was young. I have always thought that. So this Neelalohita is a very interesting name on many levels. So he is Neela and Lohita. Here the first meaning that they have given is that there is one particular Avirbhava of Shiva from Brahma. When Brahma was sitting in front of a Yajnagni, one drop of sweat from his brow fell into the fire. Because it fell into the fire, it became red. Then it took form in a dark color and came out as a Purusha, that is Shiva, that is Rudra. So we will see this story in the beginning of many Puranas. It is there in the beginning of the Padma Purana, in the Vishnu Purana, most Puranas it is there. And most people mistakenly interpret this to mean that therefore Shiva is the son of Brahma. Shiva comes from Brahma. However, this is merely an Avirbhava of Shiva. Shiva has expressed himself. Shiva is no more born to Brahma than Vamana was born to Aditi or Rama was born to Kausalya. Mahavishnu is always there. He will express himself through a parent. This is also the same in that this particular form of Shiva has expressed himself through Brahma. So there, it is there that Bhutva Lohitam Ashveva Punar Neelam Abhuttataha Neela Lohita Ityeva Tenasau Abhavat Prabhu. So this way Shiva came from Brahma, Avirbhava. That is why we call it an Avirbhava. It is an expression. And we see this because in the Shiva Puranas, Shiva gives Brahma a boon. When we say Shiva in the Shiva Puranas, we mean the Ishwara beyond the Trimurtis, that appears as the Trimurtis. So he says that I have created you, Brahma, from my left arm, Vishnu from my right arm. My Amsha also has to come as Rudra so that the Trimurtis are complete. He will come through you because Brahma had done tapas to get Paramatma as his son. So Paramashiva had given him a boon that I will be born through you at some point of time. So in every cycle of Srishti or in many cycles of Srishti, it so happens that sometimes from Brahma, Rudra expresses himself like this as Neelalohita. This is one meaning. One more meaning is there that the Murti of Shiva as meditated upon within the sun is Neelalohita. As he is dark in form, he is dark in the throat and reddish in form. Because what is the color of the sun? The sun is that golden red color, especially in the morning and the evening. So when you meditate upon Shiva inside the sun, as the Purusha inside the sun, he is that reddish color, that is the Lohita, but his throat is still Neela, it is still dark in color. So he is Neela Lohita. And this worship of Shiva within the sun is also very specific. Because there are some aspects of the worship of all devatas that will tell us that these are all forms of Paramatma. They will all be worshipped through the Onkara, they will all be worshipped in the sun. So if you take Surya anyhow is like that. If you take Vishnu, Dhyayas Sada Savitramandala Madhyavarti Narayana. The fact that it is Narayana sitting within the sun and the fact that we say Surya Narayana is also a testament to the fact that Narayana is worshipped within the sun. If you come to Devi, Bhanumandala Madhyastha is a name that we get. Devi is also there as worshipped within the sun. In the same way, Shiva, Paramashiva is also worshipped within the sun as this Neelohita Murti. And this is not an upasana that we have come up with later. This is there in the Vedas, that too in Shatrudriya. Asoyo vasarpati neelagrevo vilohitaha utainam gopa adrishan adrishanadaharyaha. Asoyo vasarpati, he who rises in the morning. Neelagrevo vilohitaha, blue-throated and red in color within the sun. Utainam gopaha adrishan adrishanadaharyaha. The first people to see Rudra as the sun are the cowherds who have woken up early in the morning to tend the cows, and the ladies who have woken up early in the morning to go to the river to get water. Those udaharyaha, the ladies who are fetching water, and gopaha, the cowherds who have gone out to graze the cows, they are the parts of society who are most fortunate to have the first darshan of Rudra as the Surya Murti, as Neela Lohita. So there, Neelagrevo Vilohitaha has clearly come there. And in the same way, there is a upasana in the Upanishads of a being within the sun. So Antaraditya Drishyate, Hiranyashmeshruhu, Hiranyakeshaha, Apranakhat Sarveva Suvarnaha. That is also taken to be, in this case, the Lohita aspect of Rudra's Murti, with the throat being dark in color. Then one more meaning is being given, that one half is Neela, the other half is Lohita. The Shiva's half is Lohita, Devi's half is Neela, because she is Kali. She is dark on one half, he is reddish in color on the other half. And therefore, Ardha Pumlakshanam Vande Purusham Krishna Pingalam. This is what we get in the Shruti, wherein Veda mantra is there, wherein Ardha Pumlakshanam Vande Purusham Krishna Pingalam. That Purusha who is Ardha Pumlakshana, half man and half female, androgynous, such an entity is Krishna Pingala. And this has a deeper aspect to it, in that Prakriti and Purusha. Prakriti is red, Purusha is dark. So therefore, the embodiment of Purusha and Prakriti is this Neela Lohita Purusha. That is told in the Linga Purana. Neelascha Lohitascha Pradhana Purushanvayat. Prakriti is red. Or sorry, Purusha is red. Purusha is red because red is the color of Rajoguna. The Purusha, the Jiva, always desires, he wishes to act. So that is characteristic of Rajas. Therefore, the Rajoguna Raktavarna, the red color, is that of the Purusha, and the Tamoguna is that of Prakriti, as it veils, it is Maya. It covers us from knowing the reality. Therefore, it is dark in color. So the fact that there is an Ishwara who is the master of both Pradhana and the Purusha is, what should the name be? Pradhana Purusheshwaraha. That is from Vishnu Sahasranama. The same meaning is given by Neela Lohita. So Pradhana Purusheshwara, Neela Lohita, giving us the same meaning. That is the case. Then there is one more important aspect that we have to note here. As we said, Rudra sometimes comes from Brahma. That is what he said, right? The Neela Lohita Avirbhava is the form that has had Avirbhava from the sweat of Brahma. This is also one contradiction that we do have to resolve. In some Puranas, Vishnu will create Shiva and Brahma. In some Puranas, Shiva will create Brahma and Vishnu. In one or two Puranas, actually Brahma himself creates Vishnu and Rudra. So which one is the correct version? What is the point here? This is all easily resolved if we continue with the original Vedic stance that there is one Ishwara who is beyond the Trimurtis but appears as the Trimurtis. So this has been clearly given to us by the Shiva Purana, wherein it states, Trayaste Karanatmanaha Jata Sakshat Maheshwarat. From Ishwara, these Trimurtis have been born. Tapasa Toshayitva Tam Pitaram Parameshwaram Brahmanarayano Purvam Rudra Kalpantare Asrijata. Kalpantare Punar Brahma Rudra Vishnu Jagatrayam. Vishnuscha Bhagavastatra Brahmanam Asrijat Punaha. Narayanam Punar Brahma Brahmanancha Punar Bhavaha. So what happened was, they have all separately done tapas for Ishwara and thereby obtained boons from him. Evam kalpeshu kalpeshu Brahma Vishnu Maheshwaraha parasparasmat jayante. So in different kalpas, that is to say in different cycles of the universe, the other two express themselves from the third in different ways. It is not that one is before the other or after the other, but it is simply the case that all three have to be there. All three are forms of one Paramatma. So in different kalpas, the order will be different. Sometimes in one kalpa, Vishnu will come first. In some other kalpa, Rudra will come first. In some other kalpa, Brahma will come first. And it is because it is Kalidasa who has understood the heart of Sanatana Dharma that he has told in Kumara Sambhava, that while going for the Kalyana, Shiva is walking first. Brahma and Vishnu are walking behind him. He says, it is not strange that Shiva is coming first, because Ekaiva Murtihi Bibidhe Tridhasa Samanyamesham Prathamavaratvam. He says, there is only one Paramatma who has taken upon three forms. Being before or afterwards of these three forms is equal. Esham Prathamavaratvam. Of these three, preceding or following is Samanyam. It is equal to all three. Sometimes Vishnu comes first, sometimes Shiva comes first, sometimes Brahma comes first. Which is why if we look in the stotras of Kalidasa, in Raghuvamsha there is a Vishnu Stuti. In the Kumara Sambhava there is a Brahma Stuti and a Shiva Stuti. These three will look identical. You will not see any difference between these three, because Kalidasa, being a Vaidika Kavi, knows that it is one Paramatma manifesting in three forms. So that also is discussed in this name of Neelalohita, that it is one Paramatma appearing as Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. In one particular avatara, Rudra appeared from Brahma as Neelalohita. So that is the meaning of this Neelalohita. And as we said, this Ardhanarishwara Sharira is in fact the 14th Murti of the Maheshwara Vyuha. Trayodasham Harerardham Ardhanari Chaturdasham. So, Ardhanari Chaturdasham. The 14th Murti in the Maheshwara Vyuha is that of Ardhanarishwara, which is hinted at by the name Neelalohita. And this Nama is also there in the Vedas. Idancha Shruti Prasiddha Nama Drape Andhadaspate Daridra Neelalohita. There, Shiva is referred to as Neelalohita. Then we get the name Shankara. As I said, some names we will have to go quickly. Shankara means someone who gives Sham. This is basically what we had discussed as Shambhu. It more or less means the same thing. So we can just move forward here, that Shankaraya Namaha. Rather than that, let us say Namashankaraya, as that is what the Jagadguru has instructed us to do japa of. One name that we get for the Jagadgurus is Vaidika Marga Pravartaka. Their job is one thing. There is a Vedic path that has to be protected. So when the Jagadguru gives us a mantra of Paramatma that everyone should be able to do japa of, the Jagadguru will not make up a mantra. The Jagadguru will give us a mantra that is Vaidika, which is why Namah Shankaraya cha Mayaskaraya cha Namah Shivaya cha Shivataraya cha. In there Namah Shankaraya has come. In fact, the Jagadguru has not just given us a mantra, but in fact the mantra that is very close to the Namah Shivaya mantra at the heart of the Yajurveda. So it is that mantra that has been given Upadesha to us as Namashankaraya. So let us keep that in mind as we do our Anushtana every day. Next is Shulapanihi. Shulapanaye Namaha is the next name. He who has a Trishula in his hand. Here also we'll move a bit quickly. The Trishula, what does it represent? It represents all the triads. As I said, the symbolism will be given to us in our Shastras. So this Trishula was given to Shiva by Vishnu. Rather than saying given, it was more of an exchange actually. Shiva gave Vishnu the chakra, Vishnu gave Shiva the Trishula. We'll see that when we talk about Vishnu Vallabha. But there is one more story in the Puranas, that when Surya had his first marriage, he was too intense. His tejas was too intense. And therefore, some of his tejas had to be set aside, such that his wife could tolerate his intensity. That tejas was later fashioned into Vishnu's Sudarshan Chakra and Shiva's Trishula. So that is one story. The story that we have taken here is that in the Padma Purana, Vishnu, Atha Yajnamayo Vishnu, Atha Yajnatmako Vishnu, Trishulam Manasa Akarot, Gunavasthagni Kalatma Loka Shakti Trayatmakam. Vishnu created this Trishula out of his own Sankalpa. That was the embodiment of all the triads in this world. What are those triads? Guna, the three gunas. Avastha, the three avasthas. Agni, the three agnis. Garhapatya, Ahavaniya and the Dakshinagni, that are the basis for all Vaidika karma. Then Gunavastha, Kriya, Kala, the three times, past, present and future. Atma, the three bodies, the Karana, Sharira, Sukshma Sharira and Sthula Sharira. Then Loka, the three lokas, Patala, Bhuloka, Swargaloka. Then Shakti, the three Shaktis, Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti. And these three, all these triads were subsumed into that one Shula. So when we say that Paramatma is Shulapani, all of these are in his command. And this Shula was given to Shiva by Vishnu in the Puranas. Therefore, in the Agamas also, there is one more place that Traigunyam Shula Metasya. This Shula is the embodiment of the three gunas. In one more place, Ichha Jnana Kriya Rupaha Trishulam Shaktayo Mataha. Shiva's Trishula are the three qualities of the capacity to know, the capacity to desire, the capacity to act. These three will powers, or these three powers are the three prongs of the Trishula. So, this is the symbolism behind Shiva's Trishula. Next is Khatvangi. Khatvangi ne namaha. Khatvanga. Khatva means a bed. Khatvanga means a limb of a bed, specifically the leg of a bed. That is called a Khatvanga. Because Shiva holds a Khatvanga, he is called Khatvangi. Why does he hold first of all, what is the metaphysical meaning of this Khatvanga? Ichha Jnana Kriya Rupas Trishulam Shaktayo Mataha Uktas Ta Eva Khatvangam Shuddha Sattva Pravartikaha. The three Shaktis that we said were the embodiment of the Trishula are again appearing as the Khatvanga. So the Khatvanga also represents the same thing, is what the Agama is telling us. Now when it comes to the story, when Brahma lied about seeing the top of the Linga Avirbhava story we all know, Brahma and Vishnu are fighting, Shiva appears as an endless Linga between them. Brahma is supposed to find the top, Vishnu is supposed to find the bottom. Vishnu tells the truth that he did not find the bottom. Brahma lies, says that he has found the top. At that point, it is not the Ishwara Shiva who has appeared as the Linga, but from the forehead of that Ishwara, Kala Bhairava comes out. Kala Bhairava is an avatar of Shiva. It is not, as we said, the Ishwara beyond the Trimurtis. This is the Rudra that we are talking about. That Kala Bhairava comes and cuts off the top head, the fifth head of Brahma. So then it is said that that head stuck to his finger as a result of the Brahma Hatya. So then he was told to wander, and wherever that head fell off, he should know that that is a Punya Kshetra, wherein he was finally freed from his sins, that is Kashi. That is where we say in Kashi it is such a Punya Kshetra. Even Brahma Hatya of killing Brahma will go. That is why it is, in the stories, in the Puranic stories, it is so acclaimed. So here, part of the Prayashchitta for doing Brahma Hatya, for killing a Brahmana, that is to say, killing someone who is a Veda Vidwan, not just someone who had got his Upanayana read before his marriage. That is not what we are talking about. We are talking about a proper Brahmana, means someone who has had his Upanayana, Veda Vidwan, Shastra Vidwan, that knows the Vedas in the Shastra, at least has done some Swadhyaya, living his life as per the norms of Shastra. That is who we are talking about. Such a person, obviously killing him will have some papa to it. Not just some papa, a very great papa. Because if they are actually a Brahmana, you have killed someone who has devoted his entire life to the pursuit and propagation of knowledge and who has done his anusthana for the welfare of society. Killing such a person is an apachara not to the person but to society. So Brahmahatya has been given a very high stance in the intensity of papas. So such a Brahmahatya, the prayashchitta for that has been told in many ways. Kapalapani Khatvangi Brahmachari Sadotthitaha Purnair Dvadashabhir Varshaihi Brahmaha Pratimuchyate. This is in Mahabharata. What is the prayashchitta for Brahmahatya? He should hold a kapala in one hand. Kapala is not a skull. A kapala is a bowl. Even in yajnas there will be kapalas. It is not that yajnas are done with skulls. It so happens that the name kapala refers to a mud bowl as well as a skull. So that keeping that in hand, Khatvangi, holding the leg of a bed in one hand, Brahmachari, maintaining celibacy, Sadotthitaha, without staying in any one place, wandering, Purnair Dvadashabhir Varshaihi, after 12 complete years, you will then have performed expiation of your Brahmahatya. There are more things. You should be doing Bhikshacharya. You should be telling everyone that you have done such a thing. There are much more things. The point here is that holding this Khatvanga in your hand is part of the Prayashchitta of Brahmahatya. So, given that although Shiva does not have any karma, we talked about this in the name Shiva itself. The karmana dosha is not there. He has no attachment to karma. Therefore, there is no punya and papa at all. However, to teach us what to do, he has faithfully acted out what we should do if there is a Brahmahatya committed. And in fact, there is one interesting discussion that is done here. Where has there been Brahmahatya done? Brahma is still alive. Only one head has been, it is an amputation, not a murder, is Neelakantha Dikshita's argument. And one more thing is also there, that whom does Brahmahatya apply to? Whom is the Shastra meant for? The Shastra is meant for humans. So if a human commits Brahmahatya, it is a papa. This will not apply to Devatas. So where is there even the concept of Shiva getting Brahmahatya? There is no concept of Shiva getting a papa at all. If at all in the Puranas there is a place where Shiva says, Ayyo, I have so many papas, or Shiva says, I know how to do prayashchitta, or someone curses Shiva, these are not actual curses or actual papas or actual prayashchittas. Bhagavan acts things out for us. This is exactly one of those situations. And in fact, this is told in the Brahmanda Purana also. Shiva tells them why he is doing all of this after cutting off Brahma's head. Yadyapyamukta prano asi tathapyesho naghopi san. Although Brahma is amukta prana, although Brahma is not dead, and although asau anaghaha, although I do not have any papa, this is, Shiva is clear, although I do not have any papa and although Brahma is not dead, even so bhikshacharana matrena prayaschitti bhavishyati. So I will still do bhikshacharana for prayaschitta. Evam krite na kenapi brahmadroha kuto bhavet. If I do this, no one will ever do Brahmahatya in the loka, because they will see that even Parameshwara, out of the doubt of Brahmahatya, has taken such harsh measures. Therefore, Brahmahatya should not at all be done. Shiva is clearly telling this, that I do not have any papa, Brahma also has not been killed. However, seeing that I am still doing such a big prayaschitta, nobody will ever attempt Brahmahatya, or no one should attempt Brahmahatya. For that sake, I am doing this. So, as a mark of that, Bhagavan is holding the Khatvanga in his hand. Therefore, Brahmana navamantavyaha iti lokasya kliptaye yuvam bhikshatanam kartum niyuktau. Therefore, to remind everyone of the respect that we owe the people who have dedicated their entire life to the pursuit of knowledge, and who for the sake of that have given up the usual comforts and the lax restrictions of an everyday life. To remind everyone of what we owe them and how much respect they should be given, I will do this. Right? So, just as we say that Krishna is, this is honestly no different from Krishna choosing to wash the feet of Brahmanas during the Rajasoya Yaga. The moral of both is the same. Those people who dedicate their lives to the Veda Marga and who forego worldly pleasures for that deserve the highest of respect. They deserve the greatest respect. Whether Krishna has washed the feet of Brahmanas in the Rajasoya Yaga, or whether Shiva has acted out the expiation for Brahmahatya, the moral is the same. Then the next name is Vishnu Vallabha. He who is dear to Vishnu. Vishnu Vallabhaya Namaha. So here there are two meanings. He who is dear to Vishnu because Vishnu worships him. He who, for whom Vishnu is dear because Vishnu is his bhakta. Both meanings he has given. In both he has kept Shiva in the top stature only. Because, as we said, we are approaching this as Shiva is Paramatma. If we do Vishnu as Paramatma, then again the story will become Tarmar. We will tell the same thing in a different way. But here, it is Shiva who is Paramatma and who is gracing Vishnu. So here, in fact, there is a very beautiful segment that is quoted here, wherein Shiva is telling Ashwatthama how dear Krishna is to him. So in the Mahabharata, the relationship between Shiva and Krishna is beautiful to see. It is a shame that due to the brain deadness of cults, the relationship of Shiva and Vishnu in the Mahabharata has been reduced to the squabbling of two cults. But if you look at the Mahabharata, the relationship between Shiva and Vishnu is so beautiful. Because while we know that it was Krishna protecting the Pandavas on the field of battle, we do not know that Shiva was standing guard in front of the Pandavas' camp every night. Day duty was Krishna, night duty was Shiva. At the gate of the Pandavas' camp every night, a Shulapani Purusha with Shardula Charma was standing there guarding. It is only with his permission that Ashwatthama was able to go on the 18th day and kill them. In fact, what happens is on the 18th day, Ashwatthama decides that he will go at night and kill the rest of the Pandavas, because the Pandavas still had some 5,000, 3,000 soldiers left, including the Upapandavas, Dhrishtadyumna, etc. So Ashwathama decides that he will go at night and kill all of them while they sleep. He decides this and he goes to the gates and he sees a terrifying form holding a Trishula, wearing tiger skin and roaring. He becomes so terrified that he immediately runs away and goes to kill himself and offer himself as Bali. That is how terrified he becomes. At that point, this figure stops him and says, for the sake of Krishna, for the sake of the Pandavas, I have been standing guard here for 18 nights for the sake of my Bhakta Krishna. Now, Krishna is no longer here because that 18th day night, Krishna also knows that the rest of the Pandava army also has to go. Krishna's job is to wipe the board clean. So, for that reason, Krishna took the Pandavas and went away. He took the Pandavas and Satyaki and went away. So, now Krishna is not there. Now, Ashwathama, I am giving you this sword and I am giving you my Tejas. You go and finish the job. So, Ashwathama finished the rest of the army on that night solely through Rudra's Anumati. So the entire job of the Kurukshetra Yuddha was a shouldering of the burden between one entity which appeared as Rudra and Narayana. As we know, on the 14th day also, okay, we'll talk about the 14th day later, but there also Rudra has a very important sthana in the war. If it is okay, I'll take 15 more minutes because there is material to be covered. So, in this way, the rest of the army was also killed by Ashwathama only through Rudra's Anumati. Only with Rudra's permission could Ashwathama even set foot. So, during the day, Krishna was protecting the Pandavas. At night, Rudra was protecting the Pandavas. And there, Rudra tells Ashwathama how dear Krishna is to him. Satya shauch arjava tyagaihi tapasa niyamenacha kshantiya dhritya cha bhaktya cha karmana manasa gira yathavadaham aradhya krishnena aklishta karmana tasmad ishtatamah krishna danyo mama navidyate. There is nobody who is more dear to me than Krishna, because Krishna has worshipped me with such faith. And what is the nature of Krishna's worship? Satya shaucha arjava tyagaihi. For my sake, to worship me, Krishna has followed Satya, Shaucha, Arjava is straightforwardness, Tyaga, charity, Tapasa, Niyama, Tapas, Niyama, Kshanti, Dhriti, Bhakti, Manasa. And how has he worshipped me? Yathavat. Exactly as I am supposed to be worshipped, he has worshipped me like this. Yathavadamaha aham aradhya Krishnena. In that way, Krishna has worshipped me so faithfully. Therefore, tasmad ishtatamaha anyaha Krishna nasti. There is nobody else who is more dear to me than Krishna. Later on in the same Mahabharata, Krishna tells Arjuna one more thing. I do not worship any other devata. Therefore, I worship only Shankara. What is the natural conclusion? Shankara is not another devata. Shankara is my very own Atma. He writes this. I do not worship any other devata. I will worship only myself as Shankara. Krishna, this is explicit. I worship myself as Shankara. Because if I did not worship myself, no one else would follow my example. Therefore, so that people worship Shiva, I have worshipped Shiva. Which means that the worship of Shiva is an example that Krishna is willing to set. So, if anyone under the guise of Krishna Bhakti says that worship of Shiva is tamasic, you have misunderstood Krishna himself. Because Krishna has told, in order to show people what they should be doing, I am worshipping myself as Rudra. Which proves two things. A, that Krishna intends that by worshipping Rudra, sadhakas get siddhi. The second thing being that worshipping Rudra is not worshipping someone who is separate from Krishna. Rudra is Narayana. Rudro, this is in the Mahabharata, it is a line that we have to hammer into our heads. Rudro Narayanashchaiva ekam sattvam dvidha kritam. Rudra and Narayana are one entity appearing as two. The heart of the Mahabharata is in this. Every single turn of fate in the Mahabharata is either Shiva or Vishnu. So that we'll see later on. But here, Shiva has very nicely told that there is no one more dear to me than Vishnu, than Krishna, which is why he is Vishnu Vallabhaha. And one more thing is there that, in fact, the Sudarshana Chakra of Vishnu was given to him by Shiva. How was the Sudarshana Chakra made? One of the greatest Rakshasas that Shiva has killed is Jalandhara. This Jalandhara was a fearsome Rakshasa, and it is a very long story that is found in the Padma Purana and many other Puranas. But there are some Rakshasas whose destruction will be described for many adhyayas on end simply because they were that powerful. This Jalandhara is one such Rakshasa. He is not a normal Rakshasa that some just Gajasura, this Asura, that Asura. Jalandhara was an Asura of massive proportions who was very powerful. And Shiva also had to fight a long and hard battle in order to conquer him. It is during the course of this battle that Jalandhara's wife was Brinda. Some things happened due to which Vishnu brought Brinda under his control, which is why Brinda becomes Tulasi and Tulasi becomes dear to Vishnu. So the entire Tulasi worship originates also from this story as well. So during the course of this, Shiva draws some lines in the ground with his toe. Those lines take shape as the Sudarshana Chakra. He gives this chakra to Vishnu. The Trishula that we talked about earlier was then given by Vishnu to Shiva. So Charanangushta Rekhotham Jalamadhye Sudarshanam. In the water, Shiva draws some lines in the water with his toe. That became Sudarshana. Charanangushta Rekhotham Jalamadhye Sudarshanam Pradaya Vishnave Shulam Swayanjagraha Vaishnavam. And he himself took the Shula created by Vishnu. So in this way, we have seen two meanings of the word Vishnu Vallabha in that he to whom Vishnu is dear, or he who is the beloved of Vishnu. Then one more meaning finally is being told, that is actually the heart of Advaita. Yadva Vishnur Vallabha Priyaha Swa Atmatvena. Because Vishnu is not separate from him, he is most dear to him. This is found there, Uma Sahayam Parameshwaram Prabhum. In all the Veda Vakyas that talk about Rudra, immediately afterwards, Sa Eva Vishnu Sapranaha. That Rudra alone is Vishnu. In the same way, in the Mahanarayana, what do we get? Sabrahma Sashiva Saharisendra Soksharaf Paramaswarat. He alone is Brahma, he alone is Hari, he alone is Shiva. In the Dravida Patha, that is to say in the Vaishnava Patha, Sa Harihi is not there. But the Narayana who was there before, Sabrahma Sashivaha. That Narayana alone is Brahma and Shiva. This is there in the Vedas, and in fact in the Vedas also, if you look at the Patha, right after the Narayana Sukta, the mantra right after that will be Ritam Satyam Param Brahma Purusham Krishna Pingalam. The mantra right after that is a Rudra mantra. For that, Sayanacharya has very neatly written that after writing about the nature of Paramatma in the Narayana Sukta, now one more mantra is given that describes the Upasya form of that Paramatma. So the Paramatma that has been discussed in the Narayana Sukta is now being discussed in one more form in the next mantra, which is the Ritam Satyam Param Brahma. So for that reason, Vishnu and Shiva are one. That is again propounded here by Neelakantha Dikshita. And here, the 11th Murti is being talked about in the Maheshwara Vyuha. The 11th Murti is the Murti that killed Jalandhara and gave the chakra to Mahavishnu. There is one more story in which he gave the chakra to Mahavishnu, wherein Vishnu did Sahasra Kamala Puja to Shiva. One Kamala was less. He took out his own eye because he is Kamalaksha. Pleased with that, Shiva gave him the Sudarshana Chakra. So this is the case in that story as well. In any case, Chakradana Swarupam tu Smritam Ekona Vimshakam. Ekona Vimshakam. The 19th Murti of these 25 Murtis is the Chakradana Swarupa, the form in which Shiva gave the chakra to Vishnu. Then one more Murti is also shown here. Trayodasham Harer Ardham. The 13th Murti amongst these 25 is the Harihara Murti. So let us keep in mind that the Harihara Murti, the worship of Shiva and Vishnu together, is the worship that is propounded in the Vedas and Smritis. It is not a later smarta concoction in order to propagate some theory. It is there in the Vedas, it is there in the Smritis, it is there in the Puranas as well. In fact, there are innumerable Bhavan Ardha Shariram Me Tvaham Tava Tathachyata. Shiva very clearly tells Vishnu that I am half your body, you are half of my body. So in all these different ways, the Harihara Swarupa is indeed there, and there is one more mantra that is there for Harihara that is worthy of japa for all of us. So along with whatever other nama mantras that we may doing every day, this mantra is also there. Vishnu Rupaya Namah Shivaya. This nama is there, it is there in the Shastras. And we see this by Tikkana Yajva, Tikkana Somayaji, who was one of the 3 Telugu poets who wrote the Andhra Mahabharata. He wrote the lion's share from Virata Parva till the end. And he gave this part of the Kavya. So he dedicated his part of the Kavya to Harihara Murti. So in every single Parva, in the beginning and the end, there will be 3-4 shlokas glorifying that Harihara Murti. And there is a very nice shloka that he wrote there. Kim asthimala kimu kaustubham va parishkriyayam bahu manyasetvam. Kim kalakotam kimuva yashodastanyam tavasvadu vada prabhome. He says, I have to do abharana, alankara and naivedya for you. I am utterly confused as to how to proceed. Because I do not know what you regard more in terms of ornamentation. A garland of skulls or kaustubha. You tell me which one I should put. In the same way, what should I do? Naivedya. Kalakuta or Yashodastanya. Should I give you poison or Yashoda's breast milk? You tell me which one you think is sweeter. In the same way, out of your adornments, tell me which one you prefer. A garland of skulls or kaustubha. Because I cannot make that decision. I am seeing both in front of me. So such nice conceptions of Harihara is there. In fact, also in the Harivamsha, right after the Banasura Yuddha, there is a long stuti there. That is a Harihara stuti. And it is there, in fact, that we get the Shivaya Vishnu Rupaya, Shiva Rupaya Vishnave, Yathantaranna Pashyami Tena Tau Dishata Shivam. This is there. Namaskara to Shiva of the form of Vishnu, Namaskara to Vishnu of the form of Shiva. Because I do not see a difference between them. Yathantaranna Pashyami Tau Dishataha Shivam. They will give me auspiciousness. Shiva or Vishnu will give me auspiciousness only if I do not see a difference between them. This is what Vyasa Maharshi has told us in the Harivamsha. So keeping all of this in mind, the Vishnu Vallabha Nama is being concluded with the name of the Harihara Murti, the 13th Murti of the Vyuhas. There are only there are 2 or 3 namas here that we'll finish quickly and then we'll finish that off. Next name is Shipivishtaha. Shipivishtaya Namaha. The word Shipi refers to a Pashu. Yajno vai Vishnuho Pashavashipihi is the Vedavakya there. Shipihi. So Yajna is Vishnu, the Pashu is Shipi. So all the animals that are used through the course of a Yajna are referred to as Shipi. As the master of all the Pashus and as the master of Yagas, he is entered into them. Shipi Vishtaha, Pravishtaha. He has entered into all the animals that are used during a Yaga. Therefore he is called Shipi Vishtaha. And this name is also there in the Rudra. Namo Girishaya Shipi Vishtaya Namo. That is there. Shipi Vishta. That name is there. Next name is Ambika Nathaha. He who is the Natha of Ambika. There are 3 meanings given here. Ambikayaha Nathaha Patihi. He who is the husband of Ambika. This is straightforward. The next one is more intriguing. Ambikam Nathate Yachati. He who has begged for Ambika. He has asked for her hand in marriage, as we know. After Devi did tapas to get Shiva as her husband. When Shiva appeared, she said, I am very happy that you want to marry me. Data me bhubratan nathaha. But it is my father who has to agree to this marriage. You go ask him. So immediately Shiva thinks of the Saptarishis and sends the Saptarishis as his emissaries in order to ask for Devi's hand in marriage. So that form of Shiva that has asked for Devi's hand in marriage is Ambika Natha. If you see in that story, they both ask for each other. Devi asked for Shiva, that is why she did tapas. Shiva also reciprocated and asked for Devi through the Saptarshis. So Ambikam Nathate. In Sanskrita, the word Nathate means to ask, to beseech. Then one more name is also there. Ambikam Ashaste. He who desires Ambika. We do not always ask for what we desire. He has both asked for Ambika and he has also desired Ambika as well. So all 3 of these meanings, Ambika's husband, he who asked for Ambika, he who desired Ambika. All 3 of these names are there. And here, this is the 5th Murti amongst the 25 Murtis, which is the Kalyana Murti. Vaivahyam Panchamam Proktam. So the Kalyana Swarupa of Shiva, the form of Shiva who asked for Devi and got ready to get married, is the 5th of the 25 Murtis of Shiva. And this name is not directly found in the Vedas, but here Neelakantha Dikshita has written, Arthatah Shruti Prasiddham. The meaning is more or less told in the Vedas wherein Namo Hiranyabhaye, Hiranyavarna, Hiranyarupa, Hiranyapataye, Ambika Pataye, Umapataye, Pashupataye, Namo Namaha. There Ambika Pataye has come. Ambika Patihi more or less means the same thing as Ambika Natha. So this name is not found verbatim in the Vedas, but it more or less means the same thing. Then one more name that we have, last two names are there. Shri Kantaha. He who is Shri Kantha. Shrihi means Shobha, luster, splendor. He whose throat is splendorous, due to there being a black spot there that has come from his drinking the hala, from drinking the poison. Why would, for all intents and purposes, it is an acid stain. If we want to talk about in today's day and age, it is an acid stain. Why does that look nice? Usually we do not think that such things look nice. But here Pushpadanta has written one thing. Sa kalmashah kanthe tava na kurute na shriyamaho. Does not that discoloration of your throat still give you great beauty? Because vikaropi shlaghya bhuvana bhayabhanga vyasaninaha. For someone who seeks to protect other people, even a disformation is an ornament. It is a moral. So this is a name of Shiva that is teaching us a moral. In the pursuit of general welfare, any disfigurations, any physical disfigurations that we may undergo actually are moral ornaments. So that is the moral in the name Shri Kantha. There is of course also one theory is there that the word Shri means Visha. Neelakantha Dikshita has written that also, that in some Nanartha Kosha, in some thesaurus, there are many words for the word Visha, many meanings are given. Shri, for the word Shri. Shrir, Vesha, Rachana, Shobha, Sampat, Sarala, Shakhishu, Vani, Lakshmi, Lavangeshu, Vishe, Bilve, Pyathatrishu. Some Kosha he has quoted to show that the word Shri also means Visha, but that is a stretch. There is no prasiddhi. That is to say, it is not common or usual for the word Shri to mean Visha. So here Shri Kantha, we must take it to mean he who has an illustrious throat, a splendorous throat, due to this. This is the 18th Murti. Out of the 25 Murtis, this is the 18th Murti. Vishapaharanam Rupam Ashtadashamiti Smritam. The form that did the Hala Bhakshana, that did the Visha Bhakshana, is the 18th Murti of Shiva. So, that is the one. And then the last name that we will be talking about today is Bhakta Vatsalaha. He is very fond of his bhaktas, because that is the pratignya that Ishwara has taken. Name bhakta pranashyati. My bhakta will not find any fall. He will not fall. Anything that he does, I will reciprocate. Anything that he does to me, I do not care where he comes from, what he does, what he looks like, what caste or gender he belongs to. Nothing of that matters to me. If he is my bhakta, his bhakti will be duly rewarded by me. So for that sake, he is Bhakta Vatsala. So here they have shown the grammatical derivation. Vatsaha kamaha, tadvan vatsalaha. So one who has desire is Vatsala. What desire does he have? The desire to show love towards his bhaktas. There is one more meaning that Vatsa is a calf. The feeling that a mother cow has towards the calf is called Vatsala. That alone is Vatsalya. So the mother cow is Vatsala. She that has a calf, Vatsalya, is that maternal affection that the mother has towards the child. So, which is why here they have nicely quoted one line that Shiva has told in Shiva Purana. Mallabha naparo labhas teshamasti yatha tatha. It is true that there is nothing greater that the bhakta can gain than Paramatma. Right? Yallabdha naparam labham manyate nathikantataha. Yasminstato nadukkhena gurunapi vichalyate. Bhagavad Gita, same thing. Right? So there is nothing greater that the bhakta can gain than Bhagavan. Shiva says, while that is true, the reverse is also equally true. Mamapi labhas tallabhan naparaf parameshwari. There is nothing greater than I can get than the obtainment of a good bhakta. So let us end this on a more philosophical note that, what do we mean? Paramatma is not seeking out a fan club. Right? What does this mean? There is nothing greater that a bhakta can attain than Paramatma, meaning that there is no higher goal than moksha. There is nothing higher than that a river can attain than mixing into the ocean. What greater gati is there for a river? In the same way, there is nothing greater for a bhakta than understanding Paramatma, being able to see him as such, loving him as such, worshipping him as such, and eventually merging into him. The reverse is also true, that Paramatma does not want us to suffer in samsara. The samsara is of the jiva's making. So what greater joy is there for someone who has designed a game than watching a player finish the game? See, what does the spectator want from the game? He wants his favorite player to win. We are all Paramatma's favorite players in this game of samsara. So what greater joy will Paramatma have than seeing that, yes, my bhakta has known me, he has merged into me, has come out of samsara. What more could he want? And in an even more sense, we are all Shishyas, he is a Guru. What greater pleasure could a Guru have than see his Shishya get moksha? So for that reason, Paramatma has our best interests in heart, and for that reason, he is Bhakta Vatsala. So with that, we have covered 70 names today. So actually not a bad run rate, because if we think about it, it is 16 names in one session. So not bad. I have some renewed confidence that we might finish this in these next 2 days. So tomorrow we'll be starting off actually with 2 very important names, Bhava and Sharva. These are the first 2 names of Shiva's main 8 names. So those we will start with. We'll talk about Shiva's Ashtamurti. We'll talk about Manmatha Dahana, Andhakasura. All of these things will come tomorrow. So tomorrow though, let us definitely start the program by 6 sharp. Let us try to minimize the break in the middle to maybe 5 minutes. And I request you all to bear with me. If I go, today is a long time, let that be. Tomorrow I promise I will not go more than 10-15 minutes over time. Simply because I do want to finish all 108 names. It won't be nice if we come to the third day and we stop at 87. So let us hit a century. Anyhow, we Indians are used to that only, right? We are used to centuries. So let us go through all 108 names, because each name is so beautiful. I was telling my wife even at home that I don't care how long it takes, I want to finish all 108, because each name is so nice. It is heartening to see how much work our Purvajas have put in that 108 names that we usually just throw flowers and akshatas for. How many stories are there, how many tantras are there, how many shastras are there, how many meanings are there. And the work of Neelakantha Dikshita already is one of my favorites. And the work that he has put into making this comprehensive. You will not come out of this not knowing, you will not come out of this and still have a doubt about some name somewhere. He has ensured that every single story is covered, every single Vedavakya is covered, any Puranic reference, any Upanishad reference, he has covered everything. So when someone like me sees a text like this, he will want to, squeeze every bit out of it before we finish. So that is what I hope to do with this. When I had 3 days to speak here, there were many deliberations and discussions about what to tell. 2 days something, 3rd day one thing, 2 days this, 1 day. I said, okay, enough of this. It is Kartika Masa. I love this text. I like the author. 108 names. Let's finish off in 3 days. So that is my goal, with the grace of... And when I told the Jagadguru also, when I took leave of Guru Garu in Hyderabad, I had mentioned that this was the topic I had taken, and Guru was like, it will be useful, lots of things are there, you tell the whole thing there. So I did namaskara there. So hopefully with the grace of Paramatma, who also appears as the Guru, let us try to finish this in the next 2 days. Today's session we will conclude here. Ityesha Vangmayi Puja Srimad Shankarapadayor Arpita Tena Deveshav Priyatam Me Sadashiva Tava Tattvanna Janami Kidrishosi Maheshwara Yadrishosi Mahadeva Tadrishaya Namo Namaha.